everyone, Merry Meet, and welcome to another Astro update. It's been hard putting this one out as there's a lot of things that I want to cover, and I've recorded this. This is my third time recording it, and because it's not coming out right, I'm just not happy with how this message is coming across, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff out there, and I even thought about should I even do this, because there's a lot of different videos out there, and I just feel like I'm led to do so because there's a lot of fear being pushed out there, but there's not a lot of explanation. And that's one thing that I want to offer today, is an explanation of the energy that's going on. So I am recording this on April the 6th, the weekend right before the solar eclipse. The other one I posted last weekend, and I don't know, it didn't go, like I said, I'm just starting over. So let's do that. So in order to understand the energy that's going on for this solar eclipse that we're having with this new moon in Aries, we need to go back to our lunar eclipse that we had in Libra. And before we can understand that one, we have to go back in time to where, and I don't have the chart here. The chart that you're looking at here is for the 19th of March, which is the spring equinox. So going back to when Mars and Venus met up, they met up on the 22nd of February at 2:14 a.m. in the sign of Aquarius. And there it was like a meeting of, these are our celestial lovers. They represent our divine masculine, our divine feminine. And when they are coming together and meeting in a sign like Aquarius, this is a very, Aquarius is future thinking. It wants to do the best for the people. So this is a wonderful energy for them to meet in, because they're looking at something outside of themselves. They're looking at the bigger picture of things. And that was one of, bringing into a balance, coming together. Now, before they met up with each other, they had to, and they met up in Aquarius. And you see that Mars right here on the 19th is still hanging out in Aquarius. It was before he crossed over into Pisces. Both Mars and Venus had to pass through the gates of the underworld, or I should say the Lord of the underworld, Pluto. So each one of those had to pass through Pluto's gate, and it reminds me of the goddess's descent into the underworld, going through the 7 gates. She didn't realize that she was going to have to make these, make payment in through each of those gates. And through each of those gates, she had to surrender or, trade in order for entrance. She had to pay to enter. So she had to give of what she had, and that was what she was wearing. Be it her necklace, be it her crown, her dress, she had to surrender those things at each of those gates, because that is what identified, or to her, it is those things identified who she was. So she was placing her, who she was, all of what the people thought of her as well, and her character and so forth, into those things, those outer things. She wasn't considering the inner part of her. It was all in the external. So we fast forward, okay? And we go into the spring equinox. Well, the spring equinox is a time, it's equal. It's where our day and our night are equal, right? Well, esoterically, this is where the masculine and the feminine are equal, okay? So this is where the divine goddess and the divine god, those divine masculine, divine feminine, stand face to face. They are equal with each other, and they are looking eye to eye. They're saying, okay, it is time that we come together, because there are things that we need to do. These are the parents, so forth, that, create, right? This is what they come together to do. This is that energy. Now, The spring equinox is when the sun enters into the cardinal sign of Aries. And you can see the sun setting here at 0 degrees Aries. Now, Aries is a fire sign, okay? And it is about our will to do things. It is about going after your desires. So when we had the full moon lunar eclipse, that took place in the sign of Libra, which is Aries' opposite, okay? So before we get to that moon, you know, we have to understand Aries, that burst of energy. Now, I will say that Aries energy is not that withstanding energy. It's that burst of energy that gets you going into the direction that you need to go, right? It helps you. It lights that fire, so to speak. So when we get to the Libra full moon and lunar eclipse, you'll see where the sun is sitting at 5 degrees of Aries and the moon is over here at 5 degrees of Libra. There is our full moon. It is they are opposite of each other. This is an opposition. So when we look at Libra, Libra is about relationships. It is about all relationships. As a matter of fact, Libra is very, it's one of those signs that will do what it needs. It wants the relationship so much that it will do what it needs to do. It will compromise itself in order to have that relationship, which is what can create those codependent relationships, okay? Now, when Libra is operating in its detriment, it will do that. It can be very compulsive. It can be very opportunistic. It can be very selfish. It can have, you know, it can have that fear of abandonment, being left alone. So it'll do what it needs to do in order to have that relationship. Now, in this concept of what's happening, we're looking at through the vices of this opposition. So this can go into if in relationships as well, if you're having to work through them and you're having trouble, this could go into the finger pointing, like you know, it's your fault. It's your fault that this is happening. It's all you. This would not have happened if you didn't do this to me. You did this to me, that sort of thing. So in that, with saying that, I would say, because this is a reflection, this is saying that, you know, this is some work that you need to do. If you need to go look in the mirror and say those things again, because in our relationships, we allow people to treat us the way that they treat us. There is an allowance there, and we do have a responsibility for that. So another thing we have to consider here is we have Chiron here, and we have the North Node here. Okay, and those are very significant because this is really going to be going into this energy of what is happening. So with, you know, the sun being just, you know, 10 degrees away from the North Node, that's about where we want to go. And just as the sun is 15 degrees away from the North Node, the moon is 10 degrees away from the South Node. So what we are leaving behind is those codependent relationships, and those relationships where we have to sacrifice ourselves, because Aries is the hero, right? So we're letting go of that, sacrificing ourselves just the sake of, you know, of having that relationship. Now, the important thing here that I want to say here, because this is also related to Chiron. Chiron is 13 degrees away from the sun. Chiron is about that original wound. And when it is in Aries, it is about, it is the feeling of, I don't deserve to exist. The wound is about existing as the self, because Aries is I am. I don't deserve to exist with Chiron. So this puts you in a powerless place. It is about, that is like an energy of impotence, okay? And it is also, you know, it makes you feel out of control and you're unable to change your own destiny. So again, this is dealing with a lot of powerlessness, right? That feeling of you're not in control of your life and you don't have that power. Now, Barbara Hanclough offers a different point of view about the asteroid Chiron. She states that it represents the rainbow bridge. And that is what we are here to heal in this physical world that allows us to free ourselves to go to our next life. So Chiron in Aries is not an easy energy, and as being the rainbow bridge, well, that connects us, right? That connects worlds, that rainbow bridge. It connects this world to the other world. So also, you know, and having to heal this physicalness in order to move to the next. So another thing here is that this is about masculine energy too. And it brings me to the wound that masculinity has. Masculinity has a wound. It was started by the negative, or I should say the patriarchy operating in its negative patterns, and like its detriment. Okay, operating in its detriment. And you know, that took, I don't know, what, 6,500 years ago, that the masculinity has started becoming distorted and just downright perverted. Okay, so we have, and it comes from, you know, Chiron is those early wounds. It represents those wounds for like early childhood wounds. And, you know, if we look at that, that is early childhood wounds, right? A lot of us were raised in religious paths where the balance of a relationship, the power of the balance of power in a relationship was distorted. So with Libra, it's about equaling, right? It wants to equal this. It wants to balance out this energy. It wants to balance out the hurt and the wounding that has happened here. And we have to leave that toxic behavior behind. Now, another interesting placement here is that Zania is here. Z-A-N-I-A-H, that's missing there. But this is known as the adulteress, the harlot. Now that can take us into another aspect as well, because this is talking about the original wound that has happened to the feminine. Libra, the moon, this is feminine energy here, okay? Libra's planet is Venus, and where is Venus? Well, at the time of this Libra full moon, she's over here in Pisces. She's just had her meeting with Saturn, where he was saying, you know what, Venus? You are beautiful, and you are in the sign of Pisces, and you are living it up here. This is your yum yum energy. And you know, you can have what you want, but you need to be practical with it, and you need to understand the boundaries that we live in. You can get what you want, but you will get what you need, but not exactly all of the frivolous stuff that you want. Remember that Pisces is that land of illusion, okay? It is those deep waters. This is about illusions, and it's also about disillusionment. So in this aspect, all of these wild fantasies and ideas that Venus was having, She was saying, wait a minute. Okay? Now let's bring in all the energy of the harlot or the adulteress. When we think of adulteress or we think of harlot, we think of how men will see women either as the whore or the Madonna aspect, right? So this is bringing this into the light, because we are all sexual beings. No matter what certain religion might want you to think or believe, we come about through the masculine and the feminine coming together. That is how life is created. This is about our sexuality. And this is also about how our sexuality has been perverted. It amazes me that how much in the United States that, we have to be hush-hush about, hush-hush about coitus, right? About the man and the woman and those sexual desires that we have. We have to be hush-hush about it, but yet it's everywhere. It's mainstream. It's what sells. The whole thing is sex sells, right? Gosh, I hope I don't get flagged in YouTube for this, and that's exactly another point, getting flagged for talking about what is human nature. So it's not human nature to allow one person to be able to go about and do whatever they want to do and still be considered holy and just and okay, but yet the other one has to live by these certain standards to be refined. And I think that's I think it was Caesar that actually said something about how the Celtic women were very loose and how, they're very different from his people. And I'm trying to remember what I was reading from that, but it was just astonishing to me how one-sided his view was. And it really represented what the women had to go through with that, being refined, had to operate a certain way. And Aries represents passion, and it represents sexuality as well. So when there is a block within our sexual needs, that is when we are suppressed, when our natural needs are suppressed, anger will surely erupt, right? So, and the natural response to that, it becomes distorted. Because when you're suppressed, you get angry. So therefore, you know what? You're just going to blow it out of the park. So therefore, you're going to operate to an extremity. So, and I think you're all understanding. I hope you're getting where I'm going to with this, because this is an unfoldment that has been happening for thousands of years. And it's truly revealing, and in our day and age, it is revealing the damage that has been done from the distorted and perverted ideals that have been placed upon masculine and feminine sexuality. She was conjunct. You see this right here, 5 degrees. 5 is a number of transformation. And, this is telling us as well, because this is about balancing the scales of sexuality. And I'm not talking about men being better than women. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about suppression and ideals that have been placed upon both sexes. This isn't about me versus you. This isn't about that. This isn't about women against men. It is not about this. Again, when Venus and Mars met up in Aquarius, it was about healing that wound, balancing, looking at the future, okay, to fix it. This is why this is in our past, and this right here is in our future. Chiron, healing the masculine. And not only that, it's reflecting here of healing that feminine as well. There's a bigger picture here. And it's disgusting how you cannot go online nowadays and brag about something that either men have accomplished or women have accomplished without somebody coming and attacking you. That shows the wounding of it. We are different. We may be humans, but we're different. We're not the same. We don't have the same functions. We are different. But it's about balancing this scale. Do you see this? Do you see this? Balancing this scale. And it is through sexual intimacy that we are able to transcend the physical and actually become one with each other. This is ancient practices that have been practiced by indigenous peoples for thousands of years. And those are the practices that were it was almost wiped completely out by the distorted, onslaught of the patriarchy. And I'm not saying that the patriarchy is evil, because it's not. It serves a purpose. But again, if you are not in that middle scale, you are operating to an extreme, which is a detriment. Either side of it is a detriment. You can go too far one way, you can go too far the other way. Finding a balance, balancing the scales. Many Hindus and Buddhists already know this, and there's other cultures out there that know about how important sexual intimacy is. And this is not through internet, this is not through virtual worlds. This is physical. This is sitting in front of someone and looking into their eyes, kind of thing. And that is one thing that has been cut from our world as well, is the connection to our earth, to the mother. Moon is called our grandmother, grandmother moon, and then we have Mother Earth. So that's going to take us into a totally different thing there. So I'm going to move past from this Libra full moon. Now we get to April the 1st. What do we see here? We see that Jupiter and Uranus are moving closer together to Sedna. Do you remember me talking about Sedna and her experience and what happened to her? She was long story short, she was betrayed by her father, and he tried to kill her, throw her in the water, and as she tried to grasp for the boat, he cut off her fingers, and her fingers fell to the bottom of the sea and became certain sea creatures, and he cut off her arms and so forth. Her body it transformed into another being. This is about a transformation that is happening. We got to look at the bigger story here. So we also see here we see Mercury here at 27 degrees. This is when April the 1st, Mercury stationed retrograde at 27 degrees. He will travel back all the way to about 15 degrees where the North Node is. So he's going to travel back to Chiron. So Mercury is our messenger. He's the messenger of the gods, and he sends us messages. He is one of those, he's considered a psychopomp too, because he can travel in between the worlds, and he can go to the underworld too. So he has went forward. He met up with Chiron before, and he moved forward. So now when he's going backwards, he's like, wait a minute, I forgot something. And when he meets up with Chiron, he will say, hey, I need to tell you something I learned. I need to tell you something. I've got some information for you. And when he delivers this, he's also going to go back and he's going to deliver this to this North Node area. This is where he's going to station and go direct. And from this, that is when he's going to bring that new energy forward. Mercury retrograde is not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing. I know there's a lot of memes and stuff. Mercury made me do it and stuff. And people get so sensitive over that. People lighten up and laugh a little bit. The world is already too serious. There's too much stuff going on here. You are allowed to laugh sometimes. Laugh, enjoy life. That's what we're here to do. Now, we're here to have that human experience, right? And this is all about it. It may not, and sure, there's a lot of stressful stuff going on in everybody's life. But at the same time, that positive energy of laughing, that actually helps heal you, and you need it. So, especially if you're complaining about freaking Mercury retrograde, you need to laugh. So anyway, I'll get off my little tangent with that. So we look up here, we see where we have Neptune hanging out at 27 degrees of Pisces. Mars is catching up. All right. I'm sorry. This is Venus. Venus is catching up. And then we have Saturn right here at 13 degrees. We have Mars catching up with Saturn. And this is one too. I hope you've been watching. I do little blurbs talking about this. Now, Mars and Saturn meeting up. This is some heavy energy. And this aspect is usually not that good. I think I did a show, previous show I talked about some of the instances. I think the last time that Mars and Saturn met up was in 1977 in the sign of Pisces. It's like an every 30 year kind of thing, 27 to 30 years. So that's not an easy placement. Well, you know, Mars in Pisces is not easy for him anyway. This is, you know, the warrior, his fire's being put out. And it's a good thing because this is a time of healing. Pisces is really yummy healing energy if you allow it to be there. That water energy teaches us a lot. Remember, water carries energy too. So his sword is not aflame any longer. It is now being put out in those Piscean waters. So when he meets up to Saturn, there's going to be a lot of obstacles coming up for you. This could be obstacles in your life, and it's in a water sign, so this could be hitting the emotional parts as well. And what I mean by that, this could be things that will, like, I'm trying to think of the word. It will hit you emotionally. It's things that you're trying to do that's going to mean a lot to you, but still you're being hit with things that are causing these obstacles, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to move on because I don't want this video to be really long. We're already almost 30 minutes in. So then we're going to have April the 8th, we're going to have the Aries new moon solar eclipse. So then we see the moon at 19 degrees of Aries, the sun at 19 degrees of Aries. We have the North Node just 4 degrees behind it, and we have Chiron. This is all conjunct Chiron. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, this is a big deal. Because remember what we talked about when we talked about the Libra lunar eclipse. Whenever we start out an eclipse season, when it starts out in lunar, we know it's going to be an emotional time, okay? Just an FYI. So this started us, okay? And this is an energy that's playing out. So this energy of we need to fix things. We need to balance out things. We need to leave behind our codependency. We need to leave behind the fear of being abandoned. We need to leave behind those things that are done in unfair ways. We need to leave behind the unfairness of the masculine and the feminine. Both, guys, both are wounded, okay, in different ways. And just because one may appear to be more severe than the other, it doesn't mean we shouldn't second guess that. To me, one wounding is just as bad as the other. It's just in different ways that it's played out. I remember I was listening to Native Americans in Canada talk about when they started. It was the first Europeans came, and they greeted them, and I forgot which one it was. It was up by, I think they were the tribe up by Toronto, and they said that they greeted them with open arms, but they had told them that they had exhausted their resources in their own world. Can you believe that? The mother, can you, and think about that. They have used the mother up that's here to take care of them to a point to where they don't know how to fix her. So instead of caring for her and nurturing her and trying to bring her back to health, they just abandon her to leave to die alone. How damaging. And of course, wanting that relationship, the mother gives. The mother is nurturing. But if it's not respected, then we have a problem, right? So that is another video, and we'll move on. So now that energy that took place over here in Libra is now, the moon has moved through. So she's now over here in Aries, meeting up with the sun. And there's Mercury. Mars is up here. Mercury is here. He's made it to 24 degrees. He's still inching his way to Chiron. Okay? So this is bringing some really deep healing. So when this eclipse happens, when it's a solar eclipse, it is, the sun represents our action, right? It's us going forth and doing. So the way that we've done things in the past is ending, and we have to start anew. Okay? I think it's like the king must die kind of thing. So the way that we were living, the way that we were going forth and producing in our life, right? It needs to end. Because there's some healing that needs to be there. So when the moon has met up with the sun after traveling and through all the other signs from being over here, that full moon, and now she's made her way back to the sun, it is a new beginning. It is definitely a new beginning. Now, another fixed star we want to look at is right here, Foma. It's called Fomalhaut. I have done a writing about her, and I have also mentioned her a lot. I will try to tag the writing that I did about her on this video so you can read it. I should just do an actual video of her, but Fomalhaut is a fixed star. It is said to have swallowed the waters and saved the world. The way you can see it is it's the top of it's like the fish's mouth where the waters of Aquarius, from the jar, the water bearer is pouring down and is catching the waters. So, this is related to Deserto, which is also related to the first mermaid story, which is Atargatis. Now, in Pisces, this is very significant too, because just as Venus and Mars had to pass through the gates of the underworld with Pluto, with our Lord of the underworld here, they had to swim down to the very deep bottom of the ocean to meet up with Atargatis. And she accompanies us through those dark parts of our life. Whereas the underworld is more of that, maybe it's releasing the physical things, as the goddess had to remove those things she thought defined us. Now we're going into those emotional depths where we're seeing those feelings that we have. those different, that we have towards other things that are preventing us from going forward as well. This is a cleansing. This is a deep cleansing, a cleansing of the heart, a cleansing of our soul, of a release. We go through, we swim through those dark areas and clean ourselves so that we can find the light, we can swim toward the light. And this is all, and I'm telling you guys, from how I'm seeing this, this reminds me of being born. Okay, all life begins in the dark, yes, but for us, our life began in water. It was in our mother's womb that we were molded and we were formed. It is where our heart began to beat. It is where we started becoming this physical being that's here in 3D. It is in our mother's waters where we begin to hear the first sounds. And that's those sounds, like, you know, when you're underwater, like have you ever been in a swimming pool, or you ever been swimming in any water and you're underwater and people are talking, and that muffled sound. This is where all of that was being formed. And then as we came through those waters, and just like a baby, you know, when we are ready, the door begins to open and the water breaks. That rush of water brings us forth into the physical plane, to where we draw our first breath. And Aries, I am. This is our physicalness. This is who we are. And with this wound of Chiron, we are learning how to, with this, we are learning to release those old ways of feeling powerless, of feeling impotent, of feeling inadequate, of feeling disgrace for being the way you are. Maybe you are a woman and you are very happy in your sexuality, but other people shun you because, oh, well, women, respectable women don't act that way. Respectable women don't dress that way. I'm not saying, and again, that is, again, somebody can take that to an extreme. I'm not talking about extremities. I'm talking about somebody that's, 50 years old and people are telling her that she needs to dress like grandmas that, are 90 years old. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being denied parts of yourself. And those are ending. That is ending because we have met up. Our divine masculine and our divine feminine met up in Aquarius. And they said, in order for us to truly heal and go forth into the next, future, we are going to have to leave behind some old ways of thinking. Now, in saying that, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to jump on any kind of religion or anything. I'm talking about ideals that will set forth. If people want to do that they can do what they want to do. But that needs to not be imposed upon other people. Because we have to understand what religion is and what spirituality is. Some people try to cup those two together, and they can work together, but they're entirely two different things. We have to respect freedom. Aquarius is about being independent and walking to a beat of your own. But it's also about acknowledging the other people that you share this life with. There is a way to be yourself, to be your true, authentic self, and not having to enforce and impose your ideals, your beliefs, or anything like that onto other people. There are ways that you can be religious. There are ways that you can be spiritual and not impose those ways upon others. And this right here, what we're dealing with is what I am talking about of what we have to release in order to go forward and to move forward is those ways, those perverted and distorted ways. Now, another big thing that I want to talk about, that is our solar eclipse, our new moon, Aries new moon. This new moon is going to be a very powerful new beginning because, like I said, it's going to have that eclipse. It's the ending of one thing and it's the beginning of another. And we all know that new moons are new beginnings, but this is going to be one that is going to be really strongly felt. There's a lot of people that I know that are going through a lot of traumatic things. And, you know, I'm sorry, and it's just not to downplay anybody's problems, but everyone has something that they're going through, okay? And we see here, we see this square going on. This is the new moon. We got a square with Pluto. So, in Mercury, so this could be something that, some news coming about that wasn't supposed to be coming about. Something has to be done. We have, something that wasn't supposed to be discovered has been discovered. Pluto is also, he's having a nice little flow energy with the North Node. So this is leaving something behind. This is that secretive behavior that's that hidden stuff is not going to be conducive to go forward. I know, like right now, especially when we talk about sexuality and sexuality being distorted, we're hearing a lot about human trafficking, especially with children right now. That is a really big problem in the United States right now. There's so many missing children. As you know, it's scary. It is scary what's happening. But that concept of using children in a way that they should not be used in, that is distorted. That is also a part of that that's going to be left behind. That is also balancing the scales. And something being revealed. I saw some things. I don't normally watch the news, but I did see some clips to where some things are coming up, showing things that are coming out that's happening to some prominent people in our world that is being exposed for doing with children. We see that a lot right now. And I mean, I know I say prominent people in our world. I'm talking about people that are public people that are well known. And I'm not saying person. You heard me. I'm saying people. So that's one of those. That's a distorted way. That's something that is something that we should not do. So again, Aries is about the will to do things. It's about going forth. It is that, and I will say this new moon is going to give us the energy to go forward. It's going to give us the energy to do that, that spark to rev our engine up. But remember, it's not sustainable. We talk about sustainable energy. We're going into Taurus. So let's flip the page here. I'm sorry. My throat is still a little bit messed up. I was sick for a little bit, and I can't get over this stuff in my throat. And it's been a while ago. So now we get to April the 20th. And what is going on April the 20th? Well, guys, we have a conjunction with Jupiter and Uranus. So how can this go down? What can we see about this? What is Jupiter? Well, Jupiter is he's considered the good god. He's considered the joyous god. He's happy. He's the god of abundance, okay? And he likes, well, he wants everybody to be happy. He wants everybody to be he wants everybody to have the best of everything, right? And it can be, it's a great energy. It really is a great energy. But we also have to look at some other stuff that's going on, okay? So we have this planet of expansion with the planet of shock and electric in an earth sign. So, which you would think, oh, this could be grounding. This could be grounding energy. But this right here is a wild card. Because this can be like great. This could be something happening that could really be something really good happening that can be magnified. And it can be brought into the physical in a very good way that will be productive as well as stand the test of time. Or it can be earthquakes. It can be the earth rumbling. It can be something happening within our agriculture. With Mars still in Pisces, and he'll be in Pisces, I believe, until the 30th of April. Is it the 29th or 30th of April? So this is a war on the water. This is a warrior in water. So we could see some energy, see here, but we have a flow energy too from Uranus. That's supposed to be a good energy, but what's good for one is not really exactly good for another, right? Also, this is close to Sedna. Remember me talking about Sedna, how it was a transformation that had to happen. The way that she thought her life was going to go was not the way. She was betrayed by someone, she was betrayed by her father. She didn't want to, she wanted to stay in her place. She wanted to stay as she was, but that's not life. Life is about change. So you see how this, and here we still we've got a stellarium going on in Aries, just like we had in Pisces, meaning there's more than 2 planets here. We've got, and I will consider Chiron, but you know, before it was the 19th when the sun moved into Taurus. The sun is now in Taurus. So back it up a little bit, and here we go. You can see it here. This is the 8th. Look at that. We got Mercury. We've got Chiron. We got the moon, the sun, and Venus. Venus at 4 degrees of Aries. Oh my goodness. And there's something else. Venus and Aries. Woo. So we see that the sun has now joined in this energy. Taurus represents our money. It represents the physical world. Okay, it represents our food, our agriculture, all the resources that we get from the earth, such as gold, silver, whatever. It represents all of that. Uranus is about electric. It is that change that makes you happen. It is that something that happens abruptly that makes you change. And then we have the God of Abundance here that's saying, oh, let's just do it. Now, I want to talk about 21 degrees of Taurus, because this is taking place, and I'm getting out my notes here because I wrote about this. And I want to make sure that I'm saying this right. So 21 degrees of Taurus is a finger pointing in an open book. And I'll say that again, a finger pointing in an open book. And it's saying, you know, look here, this right here, this in the rule book, this is, and you know, Saturn doesn't like change. Saturn is the tried and true. It's what happened. It's, you know, it doesn't like change. So it says that, you know, this is how we're supposed to be. This is what we're supposed to do. No exceptions, you know. But with Uranus, Uranus is the sign of, is the planet of Aquarius. It's saying, wait a minute. There's something deeper here. There's something bigger. Also, Jupiter being here. Jupiter is a spiritual sign. It's about learning, gaining enlightenment. This is saying that it's telling us that we shouldn't really we're starting to drop away from that social context of how we should be. And we're diving deeper into a spiritual experience. And it's that deeper spiritual experience that changes our life. It's about, this can be more of a spiritual thing, not more, and it's physical, yes, because it's in Taurus, and how are we going to wrap that together? This is about life experience prevailing over belief structures. So this can be a belief structure, because Taurus is that tried and true, this is how we've always done it sort of thing, don't like change. So this is looking at those things that we've always done, the way that we have grown our food, the way that we have lived on our planet. And, you know, I was listening to a Native American woman talk, and I wish I could figure out remember where I was reading that, so I could take you there, and you can read it. And they were talking about the water and how important the water is. And they were saying that the way that people treat the earth is the way that it treats its women. It's the way that it looks at mothers. And it takes me back to, you know, there's really been no like real medical experiments and studies on women's health. I mean, that's just now taking place. I mean, they were killing when they started the heart transplants and the bypasses and things like that. They were killing women because they were treating them as men. Women are not good test subjects because, as everybody knows, we have all 4 seasons in 1 month. All 4. We have that cleansing period. We have a full moon. We have a waning, and all of that through our cycle. We have our own cycle. And that's really not something that you can study on a good thing, because it's too variable, right? And it about shocked me to know that women's health had suffered that much because of lack of understand, the lack of wanting to get in there and trying to understand it. And like I said, they're just now doing that. But it's saying, you know, they were talking about that how when a baby is born, it is placed upon its mother's chest, and it connects immediately to the heartbeat, and the mother begins to nurse the baby. And this is a treaty that is formed between the mother and the baby, and it's about the one of nurturing, the one of nourishing, the one of kindness and of honesty. So, and men and women bring forth this beautiful life, right? So in this concept, where I'm getting with this is that, you know, if we're not respecting this conscious being that we're on, our planet is just not some rock floating around in space. It is conscious. It has its own consciousness. And if we don't know how to respect that, which is the ultimate source of our nourishment, that is where our food comes from, then how do we expect to honor the feminine? Okay? So you see, this is an unfoldment. This is happening. So now we're offered, this is going to be offering us a moment to change those ways. Something will happen. This is, with Uranus, this is an electric pulse. It's like a bam. Something happens, shocking. What is Uranus? Uranus is expect the unexpected. And that is what's going to burst us forth into this higher, you know, Jupiter represents a higher consciousness, a higher intelligence. So this is bursting us forth. So there's a lot of things that are going on right now. And I can't pinpoint one thing because all the energy is, you know, is operating and is playing out in different ways. But I wanted to come here and to show you this and to show you how this progression has happened. And you see, by the 20th, Mars has made his way past Saturn. Let's see here. Let's look on the... If we go back to the 8th of April, they were right there together. Mars and Saturn were right there together in Pisces. Okay? So now he's working his way to Uranus. I'm sorry, to Neptune. And this is where he's really going to have to know who he is and know where he's going. And again, this solar eclipse right here. Knowing who we are and knowing where we're going and healing those things, those old belief systems, those old ways that we thought was right, healing those. Okay? If he doesn't know who he is, he can get lost with Neptune in those deep waters of Pisces. Our great warrior may be a lot of things, but being deep in those dark waters, those Piscean waters, can be very confusing to anyone. Knowing who he is and getting clear with that. So when he comes back, when he enters his sign, his home, like I said, I think it's the 29th or 30th of April, then that will shift. He will be coming into the I am. He will be a new warrior. And Venus is here in Aries. And she is going after what she wants. No holds barred. That's good and that can be bad. Again, we're in a world of polarity. But you know what? She's going to meet up with Chiron too. And she's right here, 19 degrees. You might as well call this a conjunction. And this is going to be healing some of that older, healing some of those older wounds of the divine feminine. Healing that, well, let's just use her up and then we're done with her. Let's just toss her aside and leave her to die alone while we move on to something else. How horrible does that sound? Does that even sound like somebody with a soul? We got to think about that. And these belief systems that do that, we have to really think about that. It is time to transform them. I'm not saying that everything's got to go. I'm saying that we have to transform. We have to grow. We have to understand. We have to understand the agendas behind the lies that were put forth. That's why I always say, get to the root of the problem. You know, we talk about the burning times, you know, during those times, you know, what she was saying, it was during that time they were burning their women. Remember the burning times where they did burn the women, the healers, the herbalist, they would burn a midwife. You know, oh, she's doing witchcraft. Oh, we got to burn her. Oh, she happens to heal somebody with an herb. We have to burn her. That's of the devil. That concept, that stuff is still echoed to this day. And that was an agenda that was set forth. We have to go back to the root. And we have to recognize, we have to treat the root. Again, we don't have to eradicate, we have to transform. So, yeah, that is That is what is going on. That is the energy that's going on. And, you know, Venus she's going to meet up with Chiron. And she's, you know, she's meeting up with him right here on the 20th. She's 1 degree away. You might as well, like I said, you might as well call that. And when she meets with him, she's going to do some great healing. Because guess who else is going to be meeting with him? Yeah, Mars. As soon as he enters the sign of Aries, he's going to be working his way up. And then there's Mercury. Mercury has reached 15 degrees of Aries, met up with the North Node, giving the North Node some information. Mercury will actually station direct on the 25th of April. So we will write this over here so we won't forget it. The 25th of April, we have Mercury going direct. And that is going to... We will be in his shadow for... Let's see. It'll take him, what, about 2 weeks to make it back. So what the shadow is, what that means is he will be traveling through these degrees back to 27 degrees of Aries where he's stationed retrograde. So, yeah, and just, this is the 20th. So 5 days later, he will station direct. And is that 15? He's 16. So he's meeting back up with the North Node. And he's bringing this information. You know, he just flew through here. Mercury in Aries is very quick energy. So he flew through here. And then he's like, wait a minute, I forgot something. So he had to travel back. And he's going back through these degrees. And he's going back over what he missed. And when he gets to the North Node, and this is just a place. This isn't a physical thing. It's a place. It's like I said, it's the energy of where we're going. He's like, that's what I needed to fix. Now I can go forward. Now I got this. Now I'm clear-minded. And he's going to meet back up with Chiron. And he's going to bring that understanding to Chiron. Okay? So that is it with the reading. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I get to post this one. Again, this is my 3rd time recording this. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. It's just, there's so much that I want to say. And a lot to cover, and I just, you know, I wanted to get this out and I could, and I hope you all enjoyed this reading. I hope you really did, and thank you so much for watching. I know it's a little lengthy, I do apologize, but there's a lot of information, and I'll try to do another one quicker and to make it smaller, you know, a shorter video. All right, many blessings, everyone, and merry part till we merry meet again.